Hi, it's the Lipstick Gal. Thank you so much for watching today. I wanted to start playing in the new Prada eye makeup that I picked up during the Sephora sale. So I got one of the new neutral quads. I have it in 08. This is what I'm going to be putting on my eyes today, along with their new Prada Lines pencil and their Prada Scope mascara. So let's start with the eyeshadow. First of all, first, goodbye. I don't really have patience for little teeny tiny guys. You know what though? Sponge tip applicator, you never know, that might come in handy. But this little brush here, although it does feel soft, I feel like it really wouldn't do a terribly good job of picking up color. So I'm just gonna put those to the side for right now. Let's start by swatching and seeing what colors we're dealing with here. Ooh, these are really pretty. They're very soft. They feel so smooth and creamy. They're just delicious on the skin. Wow. Okay, so we're not going to be getting, there are two shades here. There's kind of like this pink and then this much lighter peachy pink with this kind of duochrome shade and then this warmish brown. Now that I know what we're dealing with, I'm going to start with the lightest shade in this palette. I'm going to pick this up on a fluffy brush, knock off any excess, and just work this kind of into the crease and over a bulk of the lid. It's not too dark. I do like that about it, but it does give some really pretty contrast. I've been so excited to try eye products from Prada, but a lot of the shades that they had were just too bold for me. I talk about a Boring Betty eyeshadow palette regularly, which is, you know, your basic nudes, your soft mauves, something that doesn't really just stand out like in major bright colors like bright green, bright blue, hot pink, or purple. Those shades are usually too punchy and they really can overpower my face because I am fair, and I always feel that I look better in slightly desaturated tones, and that's what this is giving, and I think this is going to be beautiful. It's going to be impactful, but it's not going to be too much. I'm going to take a completely clean brush at this point. There's nothing on it, and I'm just going to take a minute to blend. I want this to be really soft and really easy. All right, right now it looks like hardly anything, and I kind of like that. I'm going to take the darkest shade in here on the one I was just blending with. I'm going to build up some color in the outside corner right here. I know these are going to be really kind of a much softer approach, and I think part of that is because we're dealing with a luxury brand. They know their client is not going for that, you know, bright mid-20 teens Instagram sort of look. And the older we get, the more likely there is a little bit extra cash for just seeing what there is out there. Okay, I like the way this is looking. I like the way the brown intensified this. I do want to bring in, before I put the metallic on the lid, I want to bring in some of this rosy shade, and I'm kind of wondering how best to do that, but I'm going to pick up a pencil brush and just run this like right along the lash line. Oh, it's such a pretty color. What I like about this so far is that I'm not seeing any additional texture to the lid. Even though we're dealing with some slightly satiny colors, like the brown had some satin to it, as did that original light pink shade I put down, it looks really seamless and really pretty. This kind of pinky shade, I think, is a matte, but it's very lovely. I am going to use that first light pink shade that I put in my crease on my lower lash line, and then just a touch of the darker brown shade right on the outside corner, just to intensify that darkness and just a hint of smoke. I'm taking a color switch and I'm knocking off any excess powder off of the brush I was using earlier, and I'm going to use that just again to buff out the edge to make sure that nothing is too aggressive. I want it to be really soft and kind of blown out. I'm going to take some of this duochrome shade here and just pat it on the lid. Oh, it's a really pretty color, and it layers beautifully over everything else. I'm not getting any fallout with this, even though I picked up quite a lot on my finger. Let's do the other side. I'm also picking some up on this flat shader brush, and I'm just gonna kind of re-intensify what's right in the center of the lid. I just learned something. Okay, so I was using this shader brush, got a little bit of setting mist, and sprayed it on the brush after picking up the color. And I'm noticing that more texture is visible when I wet this formula, because I've only done it here on this eye. And I feel like you can see the texture a bit more than over here. I feel like over here it's a much softer approach. The texture on my lid is not as apparent, and I really like the look of this better. But at this point, just to make sure that we look even, I'm gonna do the same thing to the other side. But I think that this will be the last time that I reach for a setting spray to kind of intensify the sparkle, because although it does do that, it also brings out the texture on my lid. And I should have known that. I just thought, let's try and see. All right, I really like the way that this eye look turned out. I think it's really pretty. I can't wait to try this eyeliner. What I am going to do before I put on the eyeliner, though, is I'm going to curl my lashes, because every time I curl my lashes after putting liner on, all the liner gets transferred to this. So give me a minute. We'll see how curled my lashes stay, but I'm going to curl them first. Okay, I'm going to go into Prada Line's Durable Gliding Eye Pencil now. I have the shade 02. It's in the shade called Wood, so it's a dark brown. And I'm going to start just by really getting in close to my lash line here. The other thing I want to do is I want to tight line with this and see what it looks like. I'm using a small angled brush, and I'm pulling in to give myself that kind of slightly sharper line. On the bottom I'm pulling out, but on the top of this wing I'm pulling in. I find that my tactics for getting eyeliner to work for me as I get older has to change. I used to be able to just and it would be fine, but now that the texture of my eyes are changing, my tactics have to change as well. The other thing I want to do is I want to really push this into the roots of the lashes on the underside and give myself a tight line. So first I'm just going to kind of push this into the roots by kind of lightly blinking into it, and then I'm just going to draw along the upper waterline. I just blinked because I often do when I tight line, and I've noticed that it's gotten right down here in my lower lash line. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to wipe it out, and we're going to hold off and see if it keeps transferring or whether it stays in the upper waterline or not. It's been a couple minutes since I've drawn this on, and I like that I'm not able to smear it. That bodes well for what's going to be happening on my eye later on in the day. Here's hoping that my eyes, they do get a little bit oily, not a lot, mostly like at the corner of my eye, and that's where liner usually breaks down. So I'll be really curious to see what's going on. I did notice more transfer here. I haven't had any transfer back after wiping it out. Let's wipe out this other eye and see what happens. This mascara is supposed to be lengthening. It's supposed to also give nice luscious separation. I'm really excited to try it. It has a really interesting wand on it where it only has bristles on one side. So I'm really going to have to be careful as I'm putting this on, because the bristles are so short that I get close to the bottom, but not so close that I poke myself in the eye and then end up blinking in an unfortunate way to get mascara everywhere. So cross your fingers, hold your breath. Here we go. I'm glad I did take the time to curl my lashes beforehand. So I'm really sitting at the base of the lash and kind of wiggling and pushing up through the lashes. I like the definition that I'm getting. I also think it's giving some visible length to the lashes. I'm going to continue to sit here and kind of blink through this. I don't know that this is doing a lot to hold my curl. I feel like maybe, I waited too long from when I curled them to later getting the mascara on, but I do like the overall look of it. All right, back in the tube for the other side. So keep in mind, I have really short, straight, almost downward pointing lashes. I don't have luscious lashes. I'm not currently using a lash serum, and it's been a while since I have. So these are kind of like what my lashes look like, all on their own naturally. And I always like to see what a mascara can do with my natural lash. I don't have the patience for like under eye falsies, like the little falscara ones or the Lashify types of lashes. I don't have the patience for regular strip lashes or individual clusters. I need my mascara to do all the heavy lifting for me. I feel like this is doing pretty good. I'm just not getting the lift and hold that I'm wanting, but I am getting some nice length out of it. And I do like the separation. One thing to keep in mind with this mascara, if you get it, it feels like you're closing it all the way, but then you have to click a little bit harder and you'll hear it snap closed. I'm sure that if you don't do that, it's gonna dry out faster. And at luxury mascara prices, make sure you close this tube all the way up. All right, I'm gonna put on a lippy. Give me just a minute and we'll be back to talk about it. All right, here's the finished look. I threw on my favorite Prada lippy. This is the Soft Matte in B101. It's the shade Tiepolo. Love, love, love. I'm also wearing the Prada foundation today. If you're curious about what's on my face, I'll list everything in the description box down below. This is really pretty. I don't know that it's $80 pretty though. Okay, keep in mind, I'm still kind of getting to know luxury beauty. I've been dabbling my toe in the luxury beauty pool for the last year and a half. Before then, I did a lot of things that were more prestige and drugstore, but I've really been curious about luxury beauty, and I'm like, let's find out. So I really like the eye look. I really like it. I don't know that you're going to get a lot of variation with this. I don't know that these 4 shades have a ton, and for me that's great because I like this slightly desaturated, more boring Betty sort of eye look that's never going to be too much, too aggressive. If you are a makeup artist and you have a different vision than I do, you might get some variation out of this, but I like that this is one of those that I could reach for, like my favorite quad from YSL when I want a tried and true look that leans a little on the pinky peach side. I like that about this. And the formulas feel so beautiful. They feel really creamy. They go on really well. They don't bring any additional texture unless you do what I did, which was to spray a little bit of setting spray on that sparkly multi-chrome shade right here. I liked it a lot better before I did that. But keep in mind, my eyes are 50 years old. There is more texture there than there used to be. And I want kind of a soft, subtle, diffused effect. And if I'm looking up close, I feel like I did some blending after I did my mistake with the setting spray, and I feel like it looks okay. It has a really pretty kind of green shift to it. In here, there's, some gold, but I really like the color that this turned out. And it definitely has more of a peachy lean than a pink lean, even though we're getting, pinks kind of in through here. I don't know whether it's my undertone that's changing that to make it look a little bit more peach on the eye, but I don't hate it. I think it actually looks really pretty. And I like the way the brown that they have in here, this shade right here, it's such a pretty, like soft satiny shade, and it gives definition without being too dark. Love. I think this is a beautiful palette. I don't know that you have to have it for $80 though. I'm glad I tried it. It would make me more willing to pick up another Prada palette, but keep in mind, I have a dedicated beauty allowance to do things like that, but I don't know that the average person needs to spend $80 on this. There are some beautiful eyeshadows out there that are definitely still luxury, but a little bit less than this Prada. If money's not an issue, she's lovely. She's really, really lovely. All right, the eyeliner. I like this. This is one of those things that I would probably be willing to pick up another one of, because right now I am getting the smallest amount of transfer to my bottom waterline, but it's very hard to notice. It's very, very hard to notice. I can't tell you the last time It's been more than a year since I found a liner I can put in my upper waterline, and when it sets, it stays and it doesn't transfer. We'll see what this looks like at the end of the day, but right now it took me a lot of scrubbing to get it off on the back of my hand. I had to use my cellar water because just a makeup wipe was not getting it off. I like the way this wears. I have high hopes for my little baby wings. Really like this, and a neutral dark brown is superbly functional for me. The other thing that I like is I mean, it's dull, but it's not so dull I couldn't do my eyes again. I don't know how frequently I'm going to have to sharpen this, and it feels like the cap fits on there really, really well. It glides very, very nicely, but it's not so creamy that we're getting tons of pigment laid down. It's a very, very thin line, and I like that a lot. All right, the mascara. I like the length that I'm getting out of this. The one thing that I will say is that whatever curl I had, she's gone. I mean, if there's any left, I can't tell, but I like the separation and the length that I'm getting from this. I would be curious. I don't have a heated eyelash curler. Part of me keeps thinking that maybe I need to pick one up to see if that's going to help my poor wimpy, slightly downward pointing lashes really have a lifted moment. But as far as mascaras go, this one actually is really, really pretty. I want to know, is it going to flake? Is it going to smudge? Is it going to end up places I don't want it to be? Will I look like a raccoon at the end of the day? Here's hoping not, because for this price, that would be such a shame. But right now, I really like the way the finished eye look turned out. I feel like none of this was a miss. If you have budget for luxury items and you have mature skin, I definitely think that Prada is making things that work really well for my demographic. For 50 plus, for something that's soft and beautiful. Although they did initially start out with really bold, punchy quads that had some bright shades, chartreuse, red, blue, purple. They had some fun shades out there, but I'm glad they are moving to do more neutrals because I wanted to try the Prada formula. I just knew I wasn't going to be able to get use out of something that had one of those statement Prada colors in it. I love the lippies from Prada. The soft matte is my favorite. I just picked up another one during the Sephora sale in a bright red because I love this one that I'm wearing today so much. I wear it like chapstick, and I wanted another formula that was going to feel good, that was going to be nourishing on the lips, but in a kind of a bold, punchy statement shade. And I tend to prefer the soft matte formula over the hyper matte. I do have one of the hyper mattes, and it's okay. It's just not my favorite matte lipstick to wear. It's not bad, but if I'm going to wear something that's that pigmented, I usually reach for like a Lisa Eldridge. All right. Hey, thanks so much for watching today. I would love to know if you've tried much from Prada. Did you get pulled in by these new, slightly more demure shades that they came out with recently? Have you thought about picking up the Prada Scope mascara or the Prada Lines liner? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you've tried them, what are your thoughts? Is it worth it for you? I'm curious. Thank you so much for making the time to watch today. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them, and it's always my pleasure to give you as much information as I can. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.